That's what we all think at some point in our lives. This is what makes it possible to break away as adults and go out into the world to do our own dumb things, like trips to Vegas, collecting mason jars, and doing shots of tequila with Don from sales. But just because we discover that our parents are mere mortals doesn't lessen the impact they have on us or make our relationship with them any easier. Our parents are the critics of our lives. Whether they're still living and leaving incomprehensible voicemail messages, or they have moved on, finally relieved of their duties, it is their simple, offhand remarks about what you were wearing or why you lost the spelling bee that will forever rattle in your head, with more devastating impact than a bad New York Times review on opening night. Of course, parents don't realize their power because, from their point of view, no one ever listens to a single solitary word they say. But children hear everything, and the stuff that sticks is the stuff that is said without thinking. My parents started their family when they were 20 years old. That seems impossible today, considering people in their 20s are lying on airport floors in their pajamas, Snapchatting their lives away. But it really happened. If I had known how young my parents were at the time, I would have responded to any demand that I clean my room with loud laugh track laughter, more commonly used on my siblings. I try to take their age into consideration when I reflect on the insensitive things they said or did while I was growing up, like the early Saturday morning when my father and I were driving along on Route 17. I was 12, so I was probably rambling on about something important, probably having to do with Eddie Murphy's Gumby impression on Saturday Night Live, or the kid in school who accidentally blew off all his facial hair with a homemade rocket, when my father turned to me and asked, "Are you going to be one of those guys?" "With the kind of guy who blows his face off with a rocket?" I asked. "No, one of those guys who talks all the time." As someone who went on to build a career doing exactly that, you could imagine how insulted I was. I remember thinking, as opposed to what other kind of guy? A guy who sits alone in the den in silence watching nature shows and picking pistachios out of his teeth? Of course, I didn't say any of that, or engage him in any conversation at all, as it only would have helped bolster his point on the whole talking guy thing. But I realize now that he was in his early 30s, having already burned his entire 20s being a family man, and he was probably craving just a moment of silence in the car before he pulled into the parking spot of another place he didn't want to go in order to do another thing he didn't want to do. He shouldn't have said it, but I get it. Eventually, you go from judging your parents to being judged as a parent yourself. I had my children at an older age, and even though I was wiser than I was in my late 20s, I still made major moronic mistakes. For instance, when I killed my daughter's pet right in front of her. To be fair, I didn't know it was a pet. It was a snail she had found 5 minutes earlier, and I didn't intentionally kill it. I was happily walking up the driveway to say hello when I heard something go crunch under my shoe. I tried to fix it, but it turns out you can't scoop a squash snail into a paper cup and expect it to survive. Not as anything resembling a snail. While this may seem like a minor event, she's showing no signs of forgetting and continues to bring it up several times a year. "Remember when Dad killed Snaily?" she'll ask as if she's bringing up a murder that I'm still doing time for. "I do," she adds. Not only does she still remember, but I have a sneaking suspicion that this might be the opening to my eulogy. It was an innocent mistake with no ill intent that will permanently be a part of my record. And that's the rap sheet for every parent. All the smart things you try to say, all the thoughtful lessons you try to impart, are eclipsed by the more memorable, dumb moments in between. So put your resentments aside, give them some respect for keeping you alive, and get through whatever phase of the relationship you're in with the comforting knowledge that of course your parents are dumb. We are too. No presents for Dad. As the next holiday approaches, and it doesn't matter when you are listening to this, a holiday is always approaching, I have some great news for you. You don't have to buy your father a gift. That's right, you're off the hook. No more worrying about what Dad wants, ever again. No more racing through the...